This anime follows the story of a fictional world called Blue Archive, where a young and responsible teacher is assigned to guide students at Kivotos Academy. This academic city consists of hundreds of schools, each governed by its own student council that manages its respective area. Uniquely, most of the city's residents are solid creatures and robots, while the human-like beings are exclusively female. All students in Kivotos possess halos above their heads, making them immune to bullets. Only when their halos are broken do they truly leave this world. Meanwhile, a teacher, Sensei, mysteriously finds himself on a train, where he meets a dying woman who admits that the destruction of Kivotos is her doing. She then asks Sensei to prevent further devastation. Upon arriving in Kivotos, Sensei receives a tablet called the Shidim Chest from Rin, the interim leader of the Kivotos committee. When the tablet is activated, Sensei's consciousness is instantly transferred to a classroom where a young girl awaits him. The girl, named Arona, is the sub-AI of the Shidim Chest, designed to assist with all of Sensei's needs. Elsewhere, a school called Abydos faces severe financial issues with only 5 students remaining. These students are Shiroko, an avid cyclist, Sarika, who is shy, Ayani, an exemplary student from the lower grade, Hoshino, who is often sleepy, and Nanami, a student from a wealthy family. Together, they discuss the worsening state of their school and attempt to seek help from the Kivotos committee chair, who is currently missing. Despite this, Abydos sends a letter to the committee, hoping for support in the form of funds or resources to help pay off the school's enormous debt, a burden that could take 300 years to settle. On her way to school, Shiroko encounters a stranger, whom she then brings to Abydos. The stranger turns out to be Sensei, introduced as a representative from Shale, a club founded by the Kivotos committee chair before their disappearance. The students of Abydos feel relieved knowing that their letter was received, and that they would receive supplies and ammunition. During a brief introduction, Shiroko takes Sensei on a tour, showing him the current state of Abydos. It's revealed that Abydos was once a large school frequently struck by natural disasters, requiring extensive funding for repairs. As a result, the school fell into massive debt, and most students transferred elsewhere, leaving only these 5 who have stayed to work toward paying off the debt. Just as things seem calm, the Helm Gang, who regularly attacks Abydos with the intent to take over the school, launches another assault. Because of this, the Abydos students quickly prepare to face the Helm Gang, with Arona reminding everyone to stay alert. The Helm Gang feels confident about winning the fight, knowing that Abydos is low on ammunition and has poor coordination. However, this cannot be ignored. Sensei feels compelled to step in to help his students, though he must be cautious, as even one bullet could be dangerous. Carefully, Sensei begins organizing a strategy to lead his team. Suddenly, inspired, he instructs Nanami to blind the enemy's vision and combines this with Sarika's aimbot skills. Hoshino, eager to join the action, tries her best to score a kill. Shiroko, positioned on the front line, receives supplies from Ayani, enabling her to successfully headshot her opponents. Slowly but surely, the Helm Gang begins to face defeat. With her agility, Shiroko manages to knock down the gang leader right in front of her. Without hesitation, she attacks, causing the gang leader to beg for mercy. Witnessing this, the Helm Gang retreats, marking the end of a long and tense day. After that, Sensei plans to stay at Abydos until all the school's issues are resolved. The next day, Sensei and the students clean up the Helm Gang's desert hideout. Although the activity goes smoothly, Sarika remains suspicious of Sensei's intentions, wary of someone who so easily offers help. When they return to Abydos, they discuss the debt the school must pay, a debt accumulated due to frequent sandstorms in the Abydos region, forcing them to constantly borrow funds. To lift their spirits, Sensei encourages the students, assuring them that the adults present will help as well. However, Sarika continues to refuse, distrusting strangers and convinced that his kindness is just an act, leading her to leave. Her repeated rejections make Sensei feel disappointed, especially since he has been trying to connect with her over the past few days. Sarika's early departures each day catch the attention of Shiroko and her friends, who eventually decide to follow her. They observe her from a rooftop and use GPS to track her movements. At that moment, They discover that Sarika always heads to a ramen shop right after school. Realizing they are hungry, they decide to eat there too. At the ramen shop, they learn that Sarika actually works there. When Sensei attempts to place an order, his friendly nature quickly bonds him with the shop owner, Shiba, of Shibaseki Ramen. Toward the end of her shift, Shiba tells Sarika that her new acquaintance, Sensei, is a good person who genuinely cares for his students. Still, this information isn't enough to convince Sarika. On her way home, Sarika encounters Shiroko, who tries to talk to her about the day and her trust in Sensei. Shiroko insists that Sensei is a reliable and kind person. However, she leaves shortly after, missing an opportunity to assist Sarika, who suddenly faints after an ambush by the Helm Gang. The following morning, panic ensues as Sarika is nowhere to be found. Ayane has checked her room but finds no sign of her return, and her phone is unreachable. Fortunately, Sensei quickly activates his Shidam chest to request Arona's help in locating Sarika. With Arona's assistance, Sarika's location is quickly pinpointed. With this information, the mission to rescue Sarika begins. Meanwhile, after regaining consciousness, Sarika feels utterly helpless, resigning herself to her fate and waiting anxiously. Amid this tense situation, Shiroko launches a rocket drone to attack the enemy's vehicles, with Ayane's expert skills backing her up. Their efforts successfully rescue Sarika. Relieved, Sarika is grateful that her classmates, who risked so much to save her, emerged unharmed. After all members gather, they decide to take down the remaining Helm Gang. However, they face a significant problem. The attack power of Abydos isn't enough to counter the enemy's tanks, and their bullets barely make an impact. Fortunately, Sensei has a brilliant idea, with Sarika as the key to his plan. Soon after, the front guards are instructed to distract the tanks, while Sarika prepares to make a precise shot at a box dropped by Ayane's drone, causing a massive explosion that destroys the enemy tanks. With this victory, Sarika's trust in Sensei grows, and she starts showing more loyalty. On the way home after rescuing Sarika, they discuss where the Helm Gang could have obtained so much ammunition and tanks, given how difficult they are to acquire on the black market. They conclude that finding the supplier behind this will be crucial to solving Abydos' problems. However, they also need to find a way to address the school's debt. Hoshino, known for her love of naps, suggests hijacking another school's bus to make money. Shiroko then brings up the idea of robbing a bank. Initially taken as a joke, it turns out Shiroko is serious and has even researched how to pull it off. She even hands out robber masks to everyone. Because of this, Ayane is outraged by the plan, arguing that they shouldn't stoop to crime. Their last hope comes from Nanami, who suggests they try becoming idols, hoping to beat Bikamachi and earn a lot of money. This idea is also dismissed, leaving Sensei to choose one of the proposals. Elsewhere, the Benria 68 group from Gehenna School is carrying out a client's request. They are willing to do anything as long as they get paid, and this time, they're tasked with retrieving the client's cat. Aru, their leader, is delighted with their success in the mission, but their mood changes when they see the cat in poor condition, leading them to lose all the money they had earned. Later, to calm Ayane's anger, she is taken to Shibaseki Ramen. While eating, the Benria members arrive and inquire about the price of a ramen bowl. Finding it affordable, the entire band appears, planning to share a single bowl among 3 people due to their current financial struggles, something unusual for them, as Aru had spent all their funds preparing for their next mission. As they wait for their ramen, they introduce themselves. Besides Aru, there's Haruka, an introvert, Mitsuki, who loves pranks, and Kayoko, the most normal of the group. Soon, their ramen is served in a portion larger than usual, a bonus from Shiba, who sympathizes with their situation. It was revealed that the ramen is a local specialty of Abydos, and the Abydos students are intrigued by the kids from Gehenna. At that moment, Aru quickly warms up to them, unaware that these new friends are actually their next mission target. After they part ways, Mitsuki informs Aru that their new friends from Abydos are indeed their targets, deliberately telling her this afterward to see her reaction. However, as they are in the business, they must fulfill the client's request, no matter how painful. The next day, at Abydos, the group recount to Sensei how they met the friendly kids from Gehenna, only to receive an alarm that their school is under attack. The attackers are mercenaries hired by Benria. Despite the kindness they had shown, the Abydos students must now face the consequences of the business that Benria is in. Their abilities proved formidable, especially when Benria launched a surprise attack. However, the firefight dragged on until late afternoon without any resolution. If the battle continued, Abydos would undoubtedly lose due to being outnumbered. Realizing this, Sensei instructs Shiroko to prepare for a counterattack. He then commands everyone to push forward boldly, hoping to break the enemy's formation. During the fight, Shiroko attempts to outmaneuver Aru in close combat. But the match ends in a draw, and the battle is paused as the mercenaries have to withdraw for the day. Following yesterday's clash, Benria's client becomes furious. Though they're given a second chance, they won't be able to continue their mission if the funds run out. Pressed for money, Aru tries to take a bank loan but faces difficulties due to being blacklisted. At the same time, Abydos works on paying off its monthly debt installments, which must be paid in cash. A few days later, despite their suspicions, the Abydos students receive a crucial lead on the location of the Helm Gang's ammunition. Rumor has it that their supply is held at a black market. That afternoon, they head to the area, leaving Ioni to guard their base. During their investigation, they suddenly spot a girl being chased by thugs. Judging by her uniform, she seems to be from Trinity, a prestigious school for the wealthy. At that moment, they assume she's being pursued as a potential hostage for ransom. Unwilling to stand by, the Abydos students prepare to intervene. Later, the girl introduces herself as Hifumi, who was looking for a limited edition doll that's sold out everywhere and hoped to find it on the black market. Curious about Abydos' purpose there, Hifumi begins to speculate, revealing her slight knowledge of the organizations operating in the black market. In exchange for saving her, the Abydos team insists that Hifumi join their investigation. Hifumi explains that finding illegal organizations in the area isn't difficult since they operate openly. She informs them that the Black Market Bank is located in the city center, a hub for illicit cash and weapon transactions. Soon after, they're startled when a car pulls up, the same one used to collect debts from Abydos. Hifumi then identifies the loan shark as Kaiser Loan, a branch of the larger Kaiser Corporation. Armed with this information, they agree to carry out a heist. Although Sensei disapproves, the group's enthusiasm is unstoppable. They even invite Hifumi to join them. Reluctant at first, Hifumi eventually agrees, officially becoming a new member of their team. At the same time, upon seeing his students' determination, Sensei reluctantly allows them to proceed, but only to retrieve the necessary documents. Inside the bank, Aru grows frustrated when her loan request is denied. She wants to lash out, but is restrained by the heavy security presence. Disheartened, Aru feels her dreams of becoming the greatest criminal are slipping away. Suddenly, another group of robbers arrives. At that moment, Hifumi, forced into leading this crew, looks miserable in her new role. Unaware that these robbers are actually the Abydos students, Aru watches them in admiration, seeing in them the ideal criminals she's always dreamed of becoming. After successfully retrieving the bag they needed, it was time for the group to escape the scene. They thanked each other for a smooth getaway, but their relief turned bittersweet upon checking the contents. Inside the bag, they discovered an unexpectedly large amount of cash alongside several documents. Seeing this, Sarika was thrilled by their sudden fortune, but Sensei forbade them from using the money. Though it might have originally belonged to them, allowing the students to enjoy it would lead them down a dangerous path. Sensei worried that if they got used to stealing, they would only continue down that road. This was also why Hoshino rejected Nanami's suggestion to pay off all their debts with the stolen money. Suddenly, Aru appeared, chasing after them, as she had tracked them down to an event called Absolute Cinema. Forced to act before a less-than-discerning crowd of fans, the Abydos group improvises, with Nanami introducing them as the masked swimsuit gang. They make a swift exit, leaving the bag of money behind. At that moment, Benria is thrilled with the unexpected windfall, though they pity Aru, who is left daydreaming. Eventually, Benria discloses the true identity of the masked swimsuit gang. Meanwhile, the Abydos students grow furious upon learning that the Helm Gang's supplier is none other than Kaiser Loan. They are outraged that the money meant for their debts has been used to fund their own enemies. Hifumi, still with them, is equally surprised by the extent of their troubles. With the documents in hand, everything becomes clear. The true enemy they must defeat is Kaiser Loan, part of the Kaiser Corporation. Since it's late, Hifumi, as their leader, says goodbye to the group, planning to speak with Tea Party, the Trinity Student Council president, for help in investigating the matter. However, Hoshino suspects Tea Party is already aware of the situation and believes other major schools like Gehenna or Millennium might be too. Hoshino subtly tries to discourage Hifumi from helping, worried that if they owe a favor to Trinity, Abydos might come under the influence of a larger school. But Hoshino's expression hints at something deeper on her mind, something she is trying to keep hidden. The next day, Hoshino rests her head on Nanami's lap, but there's an underlying tension even as she jokes around. After Hoshino leaves, Nanami shares some of Hoshino's past with the others, revealing that in her first year, Hoshino was Abydos' student council vice president. After their president's passing, the council disbanded, which may explain why Hoshino never sought help from other schools, feeling alone until her juniors arrived. Meanwhile, Aru feels conflicted about how Benria should fulfill a client's request to destroy Abydos. Unwilling to use stolen money for the mission, Kayoko suggests returning to Gehenna, as they can't afford rent if they maintain an office. They fear that if they don't pay up, the location could be taken over by the Gehenna prefect team, led by one of the strongest students in Kivotos. Despite these doubts, Aru decides not to give up and to keep trying to fulfill the client's request. But first, they decide to fill up on food at Shibaseki Ramen. The ramen shop owner, Shiba, warmly offers them free meals, aware of their connection to Sarika. However, Aru feels insulted by this kindness, as she believes it goes against their path as criminals. Haruka, who accompanies them, contemplates that the shop should be destroyed for its generosity. Soon after, news spreads that Shibaseki Ramen has been wrecked. As a result, everyone rushes to the scene, only to find Haruka has already set up a bomb there. It turns out the introverted Haruka mistakenly believed the shop's friendly service was unfit for the criminal world and thought the only solution was to blow it up. During this time, the group considered themselves criminals, yet now they must face the wrath of the Abydos students. Fortunately, Shiba survived the previous explosion. But before the battle begins, an external bombardment knocks Aru down. The attack is revealed to come from Gehenna students, led by members of the prefect team. Their primary goal is to bring Aru and her team back, but they know they can't act recklessly on another school's territory. A prefect team member named Iori steps forward to explain the reason behind the bombardment and asks Abydos to stand down. However, Abydos refuses to retreat in their own territory, determined not to let Benria go so easily. At the same time, the instigators of this conflict watch the unfolding drama from a distance. Later, with Abydos refusing to back down, Iori launches an attack. Despite being outnumbered 4-1, Iori holds her ground. Seeing the situation escalate, Sensei is forced to intervene to calm things down. During this time, Chinatsu, Iori's friend, recognizes Sensei, having met him during her first days in Kivotos. Because of this, she's hesitant to attack while he is present. Suddenly, a hologram of another prefect team member, Akko, appears. Known for her strong influence, Akko commands Iori's obedience, her polite but firm manner hinting that resistance will lead to a firefight. The situation takes another turn as Benria launches a surprise attack against the prefect team. Aru also apologizes for the chaos caused by the Shibaseki Ramen incident. Only Kayoko seems to understand Akko's true intentions, that they're less concerned with Benria and more interested in capturing Sensei, as he possesses significant powers that make him a valuable asset. Caught in the political tensions between Trinity and Gehenna, a gunfight erupts. This time, Benria agrees to support Abydos against the prefect team. They then introduce themselves to better coordinate during the battle. During this time, Sensei orders everyone to spread out, aiming to disrupt the enemy's formation. Nanami and Haruka focus on targeting NPCs and hindering Chinatsu's movements, while Sarika and Mitsuki team up to counter Iori's agility, ultimately leading to Iori being knocked into a drainage channel. At the same time, Ayane and Kyoko provide maximum support, while Aru and the others work to handle the remaining prefect team members. As a result, the prefect team's defeat seems inevitable as they struggle against the powerful Abydos students. The coordination strengthens further when Shiroko takes the front line, with Aru providing sniper cover. When necessary, Shiroko even unleashes her ultimate skill, capable of causing massive destruction. But the clash halts abruptly when the prefect team leader, Hina, arrives. At that moment, Hina clarifies that her only target is Benria. Legally, both sides are at fault, one for obstructing the prefect team's duty, and the other for acting unrestrained on school grounds. However, as Hoshino calmly approaches, Hina, known as one of the strongest students, grows cautious, recognizing Hoshino's past. Hina ultimately orders her team to withdraw and even apologizes for intruding on their territory. Before leaving, Hina informs Sensei that Kaiser Corp is up to something in the Abydos Desert. This raises suspicion, especially as many lore entities have suddenly appeared. Moreover, Hoshino arrived late due to a mysterious encounter she had earlier. The next day, the Benria members are busy tidying up their office after being evicted by their landlord. They feel sad about parting with their beloved office, but they're determined not to let this dampen their spirits as criminals. They resolve to keep their motivation high, even if they end up as wanderers. Suddenly, Shiroko appears unexpectedly. Tension rises as they worry she might still be upset about the incident at Shibaseki Ramen. However, Haruka quickly apologizes and thanks Shiroko for helping them in the previous fight against the prefect team. Shiroko understands the situation and knows that Aru regrets her actions, especially since she saw the stolen money left in front of the ramen shop on her way. Despite it being stolen money, Aru acted thoughtfully and didn't want to use it recklessly. They managed to reconcile, parting on good terms with hopes of meeting under better circumstances in the future. Additionally, the money Shiroko found will reportedly be given to Shiba, who is currently being visited by the Abydos students. It turned out, Shiba isn't too concerned about the shop's destruction since he plans to retire soon. He mentions receiving a letter informing him that the shop has been acquired by another party. This raises questions about how Abydos' property could change ownership without their knowledge. The only likely suspect is Kaiser Corp. Meanwhile, at Gehenna, Akko is being disciplined by Hina and isn't allowed to leave until she completes 1,000 copies of Nero's subscription forms. During her punishment, Akko asks Hina how she knows so much about Hoshino. During this time, Hina explains that Hoshino is one of Abydos' most elite and brilliant students, making her a considerable threat to Gehenna. For this reason, Hina chose to retreat, especially now that Abydos has Sensei support. Meanwhile, Hoshino seems restless on the school rooftop, prompting Sensei to approach her for a chat. They talk briefly about the changes in Abydos' students since Sensei's arrival. Later, Sensei consults with Arona, who is still resting. As the afternoon progresses, Sensei asks Arona to look into Kaiser Corp, feeling it's an issue that can't be ignored. He also shares information he received from Hina the day before. Not only that, Hoshino's strained smile makes Sensei worry. After speaking with Arona, Sensei gathers the Abydos students to review all the information shared by Shiba, leading to a heavy atmosphere. To lighten the mood, Hoshino cracks a joke, albeit a bit silly. At the very least, her humor lifts the spirits of her hardworking classmates. She even suggests they visit an aquarium to relax and unwind from all the recent stress. The next day, they set out for the aquarium. Though it looks like any other aquarium, Hoshino has a vast knowledge of various fish species, almost like a walking encyclopedia. They explore the aquarium, observing the different fish species. Amid the peaceful environment, Shiroko invites Hoshino to have a private conversation, curious about her upperclassman's tense demeanor. It turned out, Shiroko wants to help if Hoshino is facing any challenges, just as Hoshino had helped her in the past. Unfortunately, Hoshino still keeps her feelings to herself and instead hugs her junior in a warm embrace. While enjoying their time together, they felt their visit wouldn't be complete without buying some merchandise. They then used their pooled funds to make the purchase. Before heading home, the group decided to take a group photo. Initially, they wanted Sensei to take the picture, but a student from Millennium, named Yuka, offered to help. At that moment, Sensei already knew Yuka from a previous incident involving Chinatsu. With Yuka's help and her friend Noah, the Abydos students captured a beautiful memory of their outing. Yet, a lingering unease remained within Sensei, as if this happiness was almost too good to be true. This feeling intensified the next morning when Shiroko, on her way to school, saw a car carrying Hoshino away. Their encounter was brief, as shortly after Shiroko arrived, Hoshino entered the classroom. At that moment, Shiroko grew increasingly suspicious of Hoshino, sensing something was off. But she chose not to disrupt the joyful atmosphere among her friends. After their routine meeting ended, Shiroko asked Hoshino about her departure that morning, already expecting her to evade the question. As predicted, Hoshino dodged, leaving Shiroko more curious than ever. Frustrated, Shiroko pressed the issue until Hoshino's bag fell, revealing a school withdrawal form. The situation grew tense as Sensei and Nanami joined them. Although Shiroko tried not to escalate the problem, Nanami insisted there should be no secrets between them. Seizing the moment, Hoshino gave a quick, vague explanation and left. At that moment, Nanami suggested giving Hoshino space, thinking she might want to resolve her issues alone. That evening, Shiroko confided in Sensei about finding the withdrawal form, asking for his help to keep Hoshino from leaving Abydos before she made a grave mistake. The following day, they held a meeting after Ayane confirmed that part of the Abydos district had indeed been acquired by Kaiser Corp. It seemed impossible for the acquisition to proceed so easily, leading them to suspect the previous Abydos Student Council president had sold the land. Outraged, Sarika couldn't believe anyone would sell such an essential asset. They realized their own negligence in focusing solely on paying off debts without keeping an eye on their surroundings. At that moment, Hoshino, formerly Abydos' vice president, explained that Abydos' debt had existed long before they enrolled. Years ago, only 2 first-year students remained, dedicated to restoring Abydos' former glory. Unfortunately, the students' good intentions were exploited by shady forces who imposed high-interest loans, leaving the debt unpaid and pressuring them to sell the land. With the information from Hina, it all started to make sense. There was something valuable hidden in Abydos, which is why Kaiser Corp aimed to close Abydos with rental schemes or excessive interest rates. Although they didn't know what Kaiser was seeking, even the Abydos students were unaware of anything buried in their area. And now, Hina's information had arrived only recently, rather than sooner. With a clear objective, they set out for the desert. Meanwhile, Hoshino mentioned that the Abydos Desert once had an oasis used for annual festivals during its golden age. This memory made Hoshino think of her upperclassmen. But there was no time for nostalgia, as they soon discovered a war facility hidden in the desert. However, its entrance was heavily guarded by robots from Kaiser PMC, a Kaiser Corp branch specializing in military operations. Unfortunately, the Abydos students had been detected, and fighting so many military-grade robots was no easy task. Suddenly, a figure appeared, the director of Kaiser Corp, the very one who had deceived Abydos and hired Benria 68. The director openly admits that he is searching for treasure buried in the Abydos Desert and will stop at nothing to make his search easier. He declares that Kaiser Corp has no real interest in Abydos itself, considering the small school with only 5 students as no threat to their military power. Additionally, with the press of a button, he could exponentially increase Abydos' debt interest. The director then suggests that they could simply leave Abydos and all their problems would vanish without needing to pay the debt. However, the students are unwilling to abandon their cherished home. Hoshino, thinking rationally, urges everyone to back down from the situation. But when the director begins talking about the former student council president who sold off their land, it stirs up painful memories for Hoshino, sparking her anger. Fortunately, she manages to control herself, and they all return to Abydos. Tensions rise, and emotions run high among the students. Shiroko even considers going alone, but Ayane calms her down. They agree to postpone any further discussion until emotions settle. However, that conversation never happens, as the next day, they find Hoshino's withdrawal form along with a letter addressed to her juniors. Inside the letter, Hoshino explains a tempting offer from a mysterious organization willing to pay off Abydos' debt. She also reveals that her absence during the prefect team incident was due to a meeting with a mysterious figure allied with Kaiser PMC. Her final request in the letter is for them to take good care of Abydos, and if forced in a battle, to destroy her halo so that she would die honorably. They had just learned this news before new attacks began in the Abydos district. During this time, the PMC director launches the attack, having confirmed Hoshino has left Abydos. Although the Abydos students have the skill to fight Kaiser soldiers, they are overwhelmed by sheer numbers. The director soon appears, explaining that they have no authority now that Hoshino is gone. He further notes that they aren't even a recognized club since they never received official acknowledgement from the former student council president. This revelation crushes the students' morale. They feel powerless and wonder how much longer they'll be forced to pay off an endless debt. In this moment of despair, Benria unexpectedly arrives, standing proudly before them. Aru and her team refuse to let their former enemies fall further into despair, and they prepare to lend their support. Once Aru is determined, she can take down a helicopter without even using a scope. Aru rallies everyone, encouraging them not to give up. Despite the ongoing battle, the students are resolved to protect their sensei. Frustrated, the director summons his prized Gundam, powered by CGI energy. Though its firepower is immense, its massive size hinders its agility. The plan is for Benria to handle the smaller soldiers while the Abydos students target the director directly. However, the director struggles against the students' agility. The school grounds are intentionally heated to lure the debt-collecting robots into areas rigged with bombs. Yet, the director endures, increasing his weapon's firepower. At the same time, Shiroko feels cornered and nearly faces certain death. In a crucial moment, Sensei throws Hoshino's shield, and Hoshino steps in to deflect the oncoming attack. Now, all they need is precise aim to destroy the director's mech. Unfortunately, the director manages to withstand the assault and orders his forces to retreat. The decision to let him go leaves them bewildered. They've been put through hardship, but are still allowed to withdraw. Nonetheless, they are grateful for Benria's assistance. Without them, Abydos might have been destroyed. At the same time, Hoshino was furious, realizing that despite her sacrifice, Abydos remains a target. On the other side, the mysterious figure has a different goal than Kaiser, seeking to capture Hoshino as the bearer of the strongest mystical power in Kivotos. This figure plans to use Hoshino as a sample in experiments aimed at turning her halo power negative, transforming her into a threat. Meanwhile, in a state of despair, Hoshino can only reflect in the isolation of the experiment room. Late that night, Sensei attempts to locate Hoshino with Arona's help. Unfortunately, her location is so well concealed that even advanced AI can't detect it. Suddenly, Sensei hears something outside. Investigating, he finds a map of the location. Without hesitation, he heads there. Upon arrival, Sensei is greeted by the mysterious figure named Black Suit, who reveals he has long wanted to speak with him. Black Suit claims to be from outside Kivotos, a member of an organization called Gematria, tasked with studying mystical forces within Kivotos. He asks Sensei if he would join their ranks, but Sensei declines, clarifying that he's only there to save Hoshino. Since Hoshino's resignation hasn't been officially accepted, she is still technically part of Abydos. Gematria, however, wasn't responsible for Abydos' downfall. They merely exploited the circumstances. Black Suit seems intrigued by Sensei and still hopes to recruit him. Although Gematria plans to restore Abydos to its former glory, Sensei firmly defends his students' rights. Curious, Black Suit questions why Sensei is so drawn to these students, considering his family isn't involved with the organization, and he possesses the highest power in Kivotos. To Sensei, it's the duty of adults to support and protect the younger generation, contrasting sharply with Gematria's tendency to manipulate them. Finally, Black Suit comes to understand his perspective. For Sensei, it's about adult responsibility to help the next generation, not exploiting them like Gematria. Respecting his views, Black Suit gives him Hoshino's location as a parting gesture. The next day, this valuable information is shared with the others, and all the students eagerly prepare to retrieve Sensei. They can hardly wait to scold their upperclassmen for leaving without notice. But before launching their mission, they decide to seek help to improve their chances of success. Their first stop is Trinity Academy. It's their first visit to Trinity, and they are awed by the school, though some students act a bit rude. Hifumi tries to request help from the Tea Party, Trinity's student council organization, but the leadership there is unwilling, preoccupied with upcoming political matters involving Gehenna. So, they continue on to Gehenna, whose facilities impress them even more than Trinity's, complete with tea service. Soon after, Chinatsu arrives and offers them refreshments. Meanwhile, Sensei tries to reach out to Iori to arrange a meeting with Hina. His efforts, however, lead to an unexpected situation when Hina passes by and is shocked to see him, ending his second request for assistance that day. Sensei then considers seeking help from Benria, but doesn't know their whereabouts. By chance, they encounter Benria at Shibaseki Ramen, now a small food cart. Benria and her team, however, need time to consider the request. In the end, with the allies they've gathered, Shiroko and her friends set off to rescue their upperclassmen. After previously battling soldiers in the city, the group has gained insight into handling such situations. However, fighting against an endless stream of robotic forces remains a challenge. Shiroko then comes up with a daring plan: attack as soon as the enemy opens the gates for reinforcements. Although risky, Shiroko trusts her friends to follow her lead. With their support, she uses her agility to disrupt the enemy's formation, while a missile drone strike takes down the gate control tower, making entry much easier. At the same time, the PMC director, infuriated, can't believe that mere students have managed to infiltrate his base. He then reports the breach to headquarters and dispatches another wave of robotic soldiers. But the situation suddenly shifts when Hifumi arrives to provide support. With a single command, Trinity's forces rain down an assault on the enemy. Not only Trinity, but also the prefect team arrives to aid them. Knowing this, the director has no choice but to deploy his entire army, yet they are no match for the combined forces of the students. At that moment, Nanami launches a spectacular combination attack, joined by the powerful strikes of Iori, Serika, and Hina, one of the most feared students, with Hina focuses on freeing Hoshino. In the midst of the chaos, the director grows more frustrated, receiving calls and wondering what action he should take. Meanwhile, in Abydos, they discover the ruins of an old school building. The director explains that this is the former main building of Abydos, and corporate security won't allow them to advance further. Just then, the same reckless leader as Hina arrives, telling the others to proceed while they handle things at the site. Consequently, the already damaged director is forced to fight against the combined forces of all three factions. On the other side, Hoshino, trapped in despair, blames herself for all the tragedies that have unfolded, including Sensei's supposed death and the current problem. She then recalls the qualities of her classmates: Nanami, who always understood her; Serika, tough yet kind-hearted; Ayane, the most dependable; and Shiroko, who never gives up. Remembering her beloved classmates rekindles her spirit, helping her rise from the sorrow over her upperclassmen's loss. Meanwhile, the director, now cornered, detonates the area where Hoshino is held captive. However, this inadvertently aids her, allowing Hoshino to break free from her restraints. Determined not to give up a second time, Hoshino recalls her late upperclassmen's words of encouragement. She believes that miracles come to those who believe. Just as she stumbles in the collapsing facility, Hoshino is saved by her classmates. By evening, Hoshino awakens, still disoriented by everything that happened, trying to calm herself. But more importantly, her friends gather around her, welcoming Hoshino back and celebrating her safe return from the PMC headquarters. Moral lesson from the story: if you're in debt, skip the crime spree, just start a ramen stand instead. Also, never mess with overly friendly noodle shops. They might blow up on you.